Welcome back to another episode of the Jordan Checker podcast where I'm joined by Danny Kennedy. Danny is an online fitness coach and personal trainer that has worked with the likes of Australian basketballer Mitch Creek, world-renowned DJ Will Sparks, and Australian tennis champion Dylan Alcott. He's also the founder of Younify, a supplement brand. In today's episode with Danny, we're going to cover a wide variety of topics from common traits of high performers and how you can implement them yourself, overcoming lack of confidence, how resistance equals opportunity, advice for new and aspiring personal trainers, is obsession a good or a bad thing, and much, much more. But if you haven't already, make sure you do subscribe either on Spotify, YouTube, or Apple Podcasts and enjoy the episode. Excellent. All right. Well, thanks for joining me, Danny. You've worked with a lot of high performers in many aspects, not just fitness or business, the likes of Will Sparks, Mitch Creek, Dylan Alcott. What are some of the common themes with these guys in terms of mindset and why they're continually achieving these high levels of success?
I think some of firstly, thanks for having me. Secondly, I think some of the common themes there, mate, is there's a lot of it is self-driven. Firstly, I think when you look at, as you said, whether it be an athlete, whether it be performer, business person, whatever it is, these guys or girls aren't needing someone to give them that motivation. They're not relying on external motivation in order for them to do the work or for them to put in the extra time or to keep pushing and trying to master their craft. They're all self-driven. At the same time, they're the type of people who are willing to fail and also the people who are kind of carving their own path. I think if you look at even the names that you just mentioned just then, all of those people have kind of, as I just said, carved out their own path and are continuing to do so and aren't afraid to, I guess, get vulnerable in a sense and speak their mind, but also just do it their way. And I think that's why you see in any successful type of person, that tends to be quite a common theme. But from the mindset perspective, as I said, very self-driven, the ability to get vulnerable, the ability to fail and continue to keep going and not see it as a failure, see it as an attempt, and take the lessons from that. But also take criticism and take feedback in a way that is going to allow them to actually excel and improve on the areas that they need to improve on. And they're all actively doing something about their mindset too. I think that's a really big thing, is that, the names that you just mentioned just then, are all going above and beyond, not just from the physical sense, but also from the mental side of things, almost more so than the physical side, in order to just be the best version of themselves, which then allows them to go and perform at their best, whether it's a sport, whether it's, Will performing in front of fucking sold out massive crowds, whatever it may be, or a business person, a CEO or whatever, having to run a company and having that responsibility of a lot of other people, not just themselves, and the ability to be able to deal with that pressure, I think, is something that's just hugely underrated. Like, you look at athletes in particular who cop a lot of shit online when they lose a game or when they've had a bad game or whatever it may be, but in the end of the day, they're all just human, and they're all dealing with emotions just like you and I would. And if they've got something going on outside of their sport or their business or whatever, as you can imagine, it can be quite difficult to then just switch that off and then go and do your thing and block all that out. And so I think that's a very underrated quality of successful people, is to be able to deal with pressure that most people just could not fucking possibly imagine the pressures that these people are under on a regular basis. And it's just the ability to be able to deal with that and still perform and still do what needs to be done in order to keep excelling in whatever industry or career they're in.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. I always the concept of, I don't like to hold people on a pedestal. And I think that's where a lot of people go wrong when they look at people like this. And that's the concept of why, once again, reminding of they're human, is that we constantly think, they're here. It's like, let's say that the more common recent topic at the moment is Taylor Swift. She's in town, everyone's like, oh my God, people pass out for someone like her and go nuts. It's like, still human. And I think the danger in holding them on a pedestal is, one, you forget they are human, so then they blast people online, they don't perform, and they get slammed for it, and mistakes happen, that's life. But also, as a person that's looking to achieve something yourself, you putting them up on that pedestal as well kind of just means like, oh, I can't do what they're doing. So but you can, like, if you develop what they've developed and like you said, the body armor that they've developed over time and the resilience and the ability to deal with the stress, it's like you actually can achieve a lot of what these special people do. It's not that special if you broke it down. It's just small improvement over a long period of time, and there's your pedestal.
100%. There's a couple of things I'll say off the back of that. First one is you nailed that. You were spot on there. I was very fortunate early on to start working with people who, in my eyes, were people who I'd idolized. And I had put on a pedestal. I remember still like two of the first, I guess you could say, bigger names or professional athletes that I got to work with was Scott Pendlebury and Michael Klim. Now, Climmy, I think for most Aussies who did you know about Climmy? Like, did you ever remember like Climmy being an elite swimmer?
I remember it was probably the back end of his career when I was old enough to really understand what was going on, but he was at a very high level performer.
Yeah, and that's it. Like, I mean, I to be honest, can't remember watching him compete, but I obviously knew who he was and knew his accomplishments. And someone like Pendles, who I'd watched on TV and I'd met a few times and just thought, this guy is an absolute freak. And I had put those guys on a pedestal, but then once I got to know them and started working with them, as you said, it's just like these people are they're obviously just human, but at the same time, like, they are great humans, great humans first. And you tend to see that a lot with people who are successful as well. It's like from the outside in, they might have a certain persona or whatever, but most of these people are just incredible humans first. And the second part of that, what you said in regards to people, seeing themselves as different to someone else who has reached a level of success in comparison to where we are now. I think the first thing, comparison is the thief of joy, right? And it also is a lot of the time the reason why people don't even start, but also continue to compare themselves. They might be in year 1 comparing themselves to someone in year 10. And when it comes to the mindset side of things, like I've, in the last few years in particular, really started to learn a lot around like the law of vibration, the law of attraction and consciousness and everything. And one of the things that I'm really big on is that whenever we are focused on, what we focus on is what we experience more of, right? And so the thing you said before around going, oh, look, this person's all the way up here and I'm down here. It's like, well, you're already saying that you're in lack. You're focused on what you don't have. You're putting this time and space in between where you are and where you want to be. And so your focus is on lack. And so you're going to continue to experience more of that. And I know this is probably going down a different path than what you were talking about, right? But one of the biggest things I speak about with my clients now, and this is regardless of whether it's an athlete, whether it's a fitness client or someone in business, whatever, is that when you are going to set out to achieve something or attract something into your life, the most important thing, and I guess you could say the hack, is embodying that version of yourself now, before the reality has changed at all. What most people do is they see themselves here, see the goal up here, and as I just said, they think about all the things that need to be done, all the things they don't have yet, all the obstacles that might come up along the way, and we're trying to move through time and space to get to this outcome, which may never happen. And so we're also saying that we're not going to feel whatever emotions are attached to that outcome. We're not going to feel any of that unless we get to this thing. And so we're placing our happiness, our joy, our self-worth, gratitude on something else outside of ourselves. Whereas if we're able to go, all right, what are the emotions attached to this outcome? Or what are the habits that I would be instilling if I already had the outcome? What would my life look like? What type of person would I be? Who would I hang out with? How would I speak? How would I think?
Stepping into the shoes of the person,
but
not pretending to be them just yet, as per se. Like, there's work to be done still, but you got to embody that a bit more.
You're not necessarily faking it till you make it. You're literally just looking at, well, if I can feel these emotions now, if I can instill these habits now, if I can set my life up as if these things had already happened now, then it would make sense for me to attract this outcome. Whereas people, even within fitness, are like, I'll change all my eating and training habits once I lose the weight. Or I'll stop doing this, that, and the other once I've got this outcome. But it's like, why the fuck can't you do it now? It'd make more sense for you to do it now, because then you are the person that it would make sense for this outcome to happen for. And so at the same time, you're also allowing yourself to feel these emotions without needing anything or anyone else, which is really important, because so many people, and every single person watching or listening to this is guilty of it, including you and I. We place our happiness on a materialistic thing or another person, like a partner, or success in business, or a body composition result. And we then rely on that in order for us to feel these things. And so if it gets taken away from you, or if you don't achieve it, you're realistically just saying that I'm going to be unhappy until I get something, which is a slippery slope.
It's probably why a lot of athletes, or not just athletes, but I know as someone that's an athlete myself and seeing the sport a little bit more as well, is like someone, career ends, footy player, basketball player, whatever, career is over. They get so lost because literally they couldn't probably remember a time where that wasn't what people knew them for. Like going through high school, they were the good basketball player, the freak basketball player. They were going to play in the NBA or the NBL or whatever it was. And all of a sudden now carpet gets whipped out from underneath them, career's over, and they're like, who am I? And that's a big challenge.
Yeah, they attach their identity to the thing. And this is a conversation I've been having a lot with athletes lately, is that you look at someone like a LeBron James, right? LeBron James will go down as one of the best basketballers of all time. But he's not a basketballer. He's a human who plays basketball. And even at that level, you have to separate the two, because as you said, if you've got someone who's placing the whole identity, and I did this early on, like with basketball, when I stopped playing basketball altogether, I felt basically depressed and lost, because I was like, I'm a basketballer. Like, what the fuck do I have now? Yeah. And like my friends are with me because I play basketball, or, I've been happy because I've been playing basketball, but that's just not the case. And so if you can separate the two, now you actually enjoy the thing a lot more as well, because you're not relying on that thing to bring you happiness. And so, like I said, with some of the athletes I'm working with now on the mindset side of things, a big part of our work is going, all right, how can you be at a really high frequency just because? Not because you won on the weekend, or not because you trained well this week or anything like that. It's because when you feel good, you attract more great things. And so if I'm already feeling good just because of my life in general, then when I go to play my sport, or when I go and do the work, or I go and record a podcast or whatever, that's going to be 10 times better because I was already happy. And you see it even in business. It's like people think, that they're happy because they made a lot of sales this week on their business. But it was like, no, you actually made a lot of sales because you were happy or because you felt good. And so when you
did the things that to get that outcome, like the outcome is not the goal. The goal is to do the things that get to the outcome.
Yep. And when you can separate you don't attach your identity to something, to someone, to somewhere, then because attachment realistically is what causes all unhappiness or frustration and the feeling of being lost is when you've attached yourself to something, because inevitably when that thing gets taken away, if you've placed all your worth on this thing that you're doing, or a person you're with, or whatever it is, then of course you're going to feel lost. Of course you feel like you don't know what to fucking do anymore, because you've placed your identity on that thing or that person.
And it makes it really hard then. If before maybe you're like, I don't want to do this anymore. Yep. And then this was like, for me, like transitioning out of posting lots of like fitness content, like the instructional how to squat, do this, do that, whatever, to then doing a podcast. And like overnight, after 2.5, 3 years of doing that, I was like, all right, this is not it. Like it'd been ringing in my head for a while, but I was like, oh shit, but this is what I know to do. This is what every day after I had my PT clients, I'd film videos. Yep. Now I'm like, I don't know what the fuck to do. So even before you do it, it's hard.
What holds
you start
people
getting
back.
into it.
Yeah. People, you see this with jobs and shit now as well. It's like people stay in something that they're unhappy doing because it's uncomfortable. Even though this is a good thing to chat about. Like I speak about this. I'm by no means a fucking relationship coach, but you see it in relationships. People are unhappy in a relationship, and it may even be unsafe, the relationship that they're in, right? But it's still comfortable. In a sense, it's still safe because they know exactly what to expect. And it's familiar. Like, you know exactly what to expect. So even though you know that you should not be in that relationship and you'd be much happier out of it, it's harder to get out of it than it is just to stay in it, because when you get out of it, there's a lot of resistance, an unknown. There's, a feeling of not being safe because you don't know what to expect, and it's uncomfortable. And so
And there's an element of keeping others happy as well, I guess, in that as well. You start to run in your head, what if this makes them upset? And the same thing, you go to your boss and you quit your job. It's like, oh, is the business going to be okay now? Like I played a pretty big role. Like, are they going to be able to find you? Yeah, they'll find someone else. You'll be okay.
Exactly right.
You're good,
and that's an ego thing, right? It's it's an ego thing, and it's not a bad ego thing. It's just human. It's just normal. It's like it's wild how much the ego comes into play with that stuff. But yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head. It's like people put their decisions on hold for a long time because of that whole identity thing, when it's like, that there's no fulfillment or alignment in what you're doing anymore, and it's okay to go and do something different.
Then it's kind of like until it's breaking point, and then they just explode, and then they make irrational decisions because they're doing it just like that, without any thinking, because they're just so pissed off, angry, and resentful of other things as well. But yeah, this train of thought, brings me to something that you've said recently on your social media: resistance equals opportunity. So I wanted to see if you could go into a little bit deeper as to why you think that's so important and why people should reframe their mindset around resistance.
100%. Once you understand this, you will actually start seeking it. You will start looking for resistance and discomfort, because on the other side of that is change and growth. And so, similar to what I just said about the relationship stuff, we can't get anything different from the feelings of comfort, familiarity, however the fuck you say that word.
I choked.
Fuck, I knew it. As soon as I thought about saying that, I was like, don't say it. Shit. You can't get anything different when there is no resistance or discomfort or an unfamiliar feeling. And so I went and did this meditation retreat with Joe Dispenza last year. And he talked about that a lot as well. He's like, if you continue to experience the same thing and it feels comfortable, it feels familiar, and nothing's different, then how could you possibly expect anything to change or grow? And I always use the analogy of the gym, right? It makes sense to people when you talk about the gym. If I went in and did the same exercise with the same weight, same sets, same reps, after a very short period of time, your body is going to stop responding in terms of muscle mass or strength or even energy output, right? The only way to continue to grow or to change is to give your body a reason to grow or change. And that comes from resistance, discomfort, and an unfamiliar feeling. So a heavier weight, more reps, more sets, slower tempo, whatever that ends up being. That's how you continue to grow and change. And so it's no different in life. It's like, the cold showers and ice baths is something that, is a big kind of buzz topic at the moment. But I'm still very bullish about it. And when I explain to people why, it makes a lot more sense. I don't do a cold shower every single morning because I fucking love it or because it's cool to talk about. It's like, I really want to do it. And as soon as I start doing it, I do enjoy it at the end, and you feel great. Physically, you feel great. Obviously, it fucking wakes you up in the morning. But the main purpose of the cold shower or the ice bath is because it's fucking uncomfortable and I really want to do it. And so once I've done it, it's then continuing to prove to myself that I'll do the things that feel uncomfortable, because I know afterwards there's reward, there's benefit for it. And if I get out of bed first thing in the morning and the first thing I do for the day is the thing that I probably want to do least for the whole day, then everything else feels easy.
It's up from there, isn't it?
Now all of a sudden the hard conversation, the fucking email that you don't want to get back to, or the training session that you don't want to do because it's fucking cold outside is easy because you've already done the hard thing. But also it's just a continual reminder of, like, on the other side of resistance is growth and change. Without resistance and discomfort, there is no growth or change. And that's okay as well sometimes, right? It's like, I'm not sitting here saying that everyone needs to have that mindset in everything they do and they should always want to be to change and grow. Like, some people are just happy and content, and that's completely fine.
And it's different stages as well. Like, it's, you don't just pick, like, my gym routine's going really well. I'm not sore. I'm seeing really good results. You don't go like, all right, let's change it then. You're like, it's working.
Yeah, exactly.
Just keep doing it and just keep training hard and doing it. Then you'll be okay.
Exactly right. But even in that scenario, right, like, it's working because you are adding some form of overload, right? And so again, it's not like you don't need to fucking be David Goggins and go out and just fuck yourself up every day in order to see any growth in your life. But if there's areas of your life that you want to change, you have to be willing to accept that it's going to be uncomfortable. And if it's not, and even with things like, say, meditation, right? It's a good example to use as well. It's like people who say, I don't have time to meditate, or I just can't sit still, or, every excuse and reason you can think of to not meditate or do breath work or just sit with your own thoughts. Because I used to be in the exact same position. There's a good fucking chance that there's something really positive and good on the other side of it if you just sit with it.
It's almost if you're saying that, it's like you're the person that actually needs it more than anyone else.
Exactly right. If you're feeling a level of discomfort to the point where you cannot sit with yourself and your own thoughts for longer than 2 minutes, there's probably a fucking good reason as to why you should be doing it. Because if you don't, then you will never know what the benefit of meditation is going to be, or breath work, or any of this stuff. You won't know the benefit on the other side, because every time the resistance comes up, and this is common for everyone, for a lot of people, when resistance shows itself, you shy away. It's the same with health and fitness. Everyone fucking knows how to lose fat. Everyone knows how to build muscle. And if you don't, you can find every bit of information you could ever possibly need on fucking Google.
Slam into ChatGPT now and it'll tell you all about it.
Exactly. But there's a big difference between information and implementation. And if information was the barrier to entry, then fucking everyone would look incredible. But people struggle with their health and fitness journey because when things get uncomfortable, that's when we shy away and we go back to our old habits, because it's an unfamiliar feeling. It's like, shit, my brain and body are not used to this. And
retreat, run.
The brain and body will do everything it can to make sure you don't sit in that resistance because it doesn't want to deal with that shit.
It's interesting that, and using as both PTs, the example of weight loss is something like, it's how many you've had clients as well. I have heaps of them. They're like, I want to lose weight. Yeah, cool. We go through this whole process and we get them, this is calories. Let's make some adjustments to this food or whatever. And they're like, do you reckon I could do it without changing the food I eat, or without doing this? And I'm like, let's get this straight. You're wanting to make a change here and do nothing here.
Exactly right.
Not quite how it
works.
Exactly. And so that resistance of like, so maybe, having a Magnum ice cream every night, maybe I should do that every second night. Or maybe, I need maybe intermittent fasting will work for you, or whatever it is. Like there's no perfect one size fits all, but they're looking for like the solution with no change, which is the opportunity with no resistance, which just doesn't exist.
Exactly right. And that is why you'll get these people come and do fucking 4 different challenges every year, different program every month, as you said. It's like, that's the thing, right? And even coming back to the example you used around, changing up the program or whatever, it's like, you see people who are always doing a different diet, a different training program, doing a different challenge here. It's because you shouldn't need to do a million different things to get a result. It's like every single one of those things you tried works if you stick to it and you just lean into the resistance and you get through it. It's like, as you said, there's no one size fits all. Every style of eating works if you're in a calorie deficit. Every style of training is going to work if you are overloading in some way or another. It's not the fucking, it's not the program or the style of eating that's your problem. It's the fact that every time it gets uncomfortable, you want to change it because now it doesn't suit you because it's actually getting difficult.
It's time. Like you're doing the right thing on the wrong time horizon. Like you need to drag and extend that out over a 10-year sort of thing. Like it's, I'm 23, but I've been in the gym since I was like 16 or something. It started off very much, like sport focused. Then I stopped playing sport. Now I'm back into it again. And it's like, but it's still, that's like 8 years or something like that. Don't judge my maths. It was quick. But like that's a long time horizon. And I'm still not where I can see myself getting. But you don't stop because I'm not Arnold Schwarzenegger or in my case, I'm not throwing the jab 100 meters already. You don't go, it didn't happen in 6 months. But that's people's approach. Like it's, if they could kind of maybe see some of their journeys like an Olympic sort of athlete journey, they compete, on the big stage once every 4 years. So if you could start to extend your time horizon, Usain Bolt ran 9 seconds after 4 years of training. But people want the 9 seconds after 1 day of training.
Exactly.
It just doesn't happen.
100%. And most of the time as well, from that fitness analogy, it's like, okay, so you've been doing nothing for training and nutrition for the last 4 years and you expect to look fucking good in 2 months.
It's a lot to unwind.
It's like, something doesn't add up here. You don't need to be fucking good at maths to see that doesn't work.
I thought I was bad at maths. That's what they're doing. So, then on a more personal level, like you mentioned, like self-worth and self-confidence. How did you overcome that and get yourself and find the life after basketball?
A lot of trial and error, I guess. I mean, early on, I probably didn't have that much self-worth because I was, basically, as I said, tying my identity and my level of worth to my success in basketball or lack of success in basketball. At the same time, I was also a very big people pleaser. Like I wasn't very authentic to myself. And, I talk about this a lot in regards to if I'm doing everything to please other people or to try and fit in or to, to fit in and be accepted here, there and everywhere, it's like, you're realistically showing up as a character every day. You're like an actor. And so, of course, it's going to cause stress, anxiety. It's tiring. It's not fulfilling. There's no self-worth there because you're never showing up as yourself. Like you're not showing yourself any respect at all. And so that was me for a long, long time. And so until I just got to that point where I was like, and I actually don't know what caused me to make this mindset shift, but it was like, I just don't give a fuck now. It's like, I'm going to do what makes me happy. And, thinking about it now, I guess a big part of that was actually starting in the gym. It was because I started to build a lot of that confidence and self-worth from putting in the work and coming from a sport background where I, prided myself, I guess, on being one of the hardest workers in any situation, but then that not translating to the amount of success that I felt like I should have had with sport in comparison to the work I was putting in. Going to the gym and going like, all right, I can put this same work ethic that I've been putting into sport into the gym. And I'm actually now seeing these results. I'm seeing the changes. I'm building my level of confidence. I'm starting to really find something that I feel really aligned to and is, I felt like my kind of purpose. And so I think that was a big part of like, building that confidence and self-worth and also just removing the fucks given about what other people think because I'd done it for so long and just was not happy. And all of a sudden when I started to let go of that a little bit, I was like, fuck, I actually feel happy. And after basketball, that initial period was shit because my identity was tied to it. But then when I was like, fuck, I don't actually miss it that much. And I was like, what I'm doing, I find really fulfilling. And at that period as well, I was already qualified as a PT like from 2011 or 12, but I started PTing in 2014 because I was playing basketball. And so all of a sudden when I'm now sharing my experiences of what helped me build confidence and self-worth with other people, I'm like, man, this is very fulfilling. Way more fulfilling than me going out and training 4 or 5 hours a day for basketball and everything being about me. But at the same time, placing like my happiness based off winning a fucking game of basketball or getting picked for a team or playing well or whatever. It was like now I'm like the outcomes that I'm getting are a result of the direct kind of effort and work that I'm putting in. And I just love that. And so that changed everything for me.
Yeah. How do you find like the going from these were your goals, what you wanted to achieve, all of those sort of concepts as well, to then helping other people? How do you go ensuring that you're still doing the things to grow yourself and go out and on your own? Because I feel like it's just made me think of it there. Like it's a potential easy point for someone to be like, oh, I just love teaching other people. That's why I didn't achieve what I wanted to achieve. And it's like, how do you balance still like pursuing growth on your own and not hiding behind I'm a teacher sort of thing as well?
I'm just a big believer in, you practice what you preach. And you wouldn't go to, well, I don't know, this is probably a shit example, but I probably wouldn't go see a fucking dentist if you had shit teeth.
Yeah.
Right?
You got to look the part a little bit.
Yeah, well, it's like, why the fuck would I trust this? So it's like, I just found that, and a big part of my growth in business was I always have been documenting like my journey. And so I was getting a response to that documenting it as well from, it wasn't so much about needing it as in like, the instant gratification of getting likes on social media or whatever. It was more so just going like, fuck, I've had a message from someone saying that this post or this email or this podcast has helped them in terms of adding value or whatever. And so for me, it was like, if I continue to grow, that's going to continue to inspire people here as well. And so, and the people that are following my journey. And it's like, why the fuck would I be inspiring or helping anyone if they're watching me just stay in the same place the whole fucking time? And so it's not like, as a personal trainer, you need to look like Arnold, but it's like, you need to live the lifestyle. And that goes for absolutely anything, in my opinion. It's like, but it's not even just for everyone else. It's more so for yourself. You know when you're out of alignment.
Yeah.
You know, when you look at being in alignment and being at the frequency you need to be at, it's like, I can't be sitting here expecting my life to go the way I want it to go if like all of my actions and my thoughts suggest otherwise in comparison to what I'm saying I want. You know?
And it feels like, as a PT, like it feels like you're a bit of a fraud if you're like,
Yeah.
do this, do this, do this, do this. And they're like, oh, how'd you manage that? Oh, I don't do it.
Yeah, I don't do it. Yeah.
Like, what the fuck? Like,
Yeah.
why would I do it then?
Exactly
like,
right.
It's, you know, it just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, exactly right. And so I think that was just the big part of it. And as I said, because I had spent that period of time earlier on, like in basketball, just learning the value of hard work. It was just ingrained into me then to translate that hard work into whatever I was doing next. So, you know, obviously that went in towards business. I did bodybuilding for a little bit. Whatever I've done since then is just like podcasting, anything. It's like, I'm just going to fucking work hard. It's like, I don't want to rely on luck, or I don't want to have to blame. I don't want any fucking excuses as to why I have not been able to reach the levels of success or happiness that I've said I want, because I've left it to chance. Yeah. It's like, I want to take control of that in a sense.
Like, and the concept of luck, like hearing that word, like it's an interesting one that a lot of people will look at someone, you know, these high achievers that we've spoken about and many others, or anything that you've achieved in your life, and people will be like, oh, you know, you got lucky because of X, Y, and Z. And it's like, well, regardless of whether there is some luck at play here, I think as soon as you're throwing the luck word at someone, once again, you're playing that pedestal game. Like, you're playing that like, oh, I can't do it. Yeah. You just got lucky. And it's like, okay, maybe I am lucky that I got born here with this family and went to this school and, you know, met these people, whatever. But also a large part of this is, you know, like right here, like right now, like, and you do this with your podcast as well, like going out there and reaching people, talking to new people. It's not luck that we're sitting here right now.
Not
it's
at all.
Because I sent you a message.
Exactly.
It's not luck that you work with the names we mentioned earlier. It's because you did other things before that to get to that stage as well. And, you know, maybe, yes, you got lucky that you stumbled across one or two of them or something.
You create your own luck though.
Yeah.
You create your own luck, because if you don't put yourself in a position to be lucky, you're not going to be lucky.
Yeah.
And so, you
said it much better in a shorter time frame.
No, I know exactly what you're saying, but it's like, yeah, I hate it when people say that, or, you know, and I'm sure you get this as well. It's even anyone who is using luck as an excuse or bad luck as an excuse is either just playing the victim or just taking an easy cop out because they're not willing to put in the work, right? And as I said, you create your own luck by putting yourself in a position to get lucky. It doesn't just fall in your fucking lap.
No. And that's it. If you've come from an unfortunate start, there's things that can be done to start to kind of reverse yourself out of that as well. And that's, you know, that's not saying that's going to be easy. It's like the weight loss. It's simple, not easy. Same sort of thing. The methods and the things that people are doing to achieve high levels of success are simple, but not easy. Yeah.
And you even look at, you know, let's use the examples of lucky and unlucky growing up, right? You get born into a family who's wealthy and life's pretty fucking easy, right? I look at that as unlucky in a sense, because it's like you don't learn the value of hard work. You don't learn a lot of the lessons that you have to learn, maybe growing up in a family that's not as lucky or as wealthy. And, you know, I was very, very lucky to grow up with the family and the household that I did, but I also was never just handed anything. Like I learned the value of hard work. And so you look at so many people who grow up in these lucky households, they don't really eventuate to much later in life because they don't learn the lessons that others have. So it's everything is just perception. Yeah. It's how you fucking look at it. It's like,
and I think it's the lessons that then you're being taught from that as well. Like you could come from a family that's, you know, that's loaded, they've got everything or whatever, but like the parents still be, but yeah, that's ours, not yours. Yeah, and I think Shaq said it actually. And his son one day came up to him and was like, "Dad, we're rich." He's like, "No, I am."
Yeah.
It's like, oh, imagine feeling that. You're like, fuck you. Like,
yeah, exactly.
But like, it's, you know, because, and you see that. So like these guys, an example of Shaq and whatever, and his son, who's an amazing basketball player as well, and you know, may continue to go down that path. I don't know basketball perfectly, but he's clearly as someone that's very wealthy, been very successful, you can still instill those behaviors. So it's more about the people that you're surrounding yourself with and how they're talking to you, whether you're being spoon-fed. And you know, that's, you know, I was fortunate enough to go to a private school in Adelaide, amazing school, but I was never spoon-fed by my family, like my parents. Like both my parents are teachers. So, you know, we weren't ballers, but we lived well. I had a great life and I had so many opportunities. I'm very grateful for that. But the key word was there. It was opportunities. It wasn't here, have this. I had to do something with what was in front of me. Otherwise, nothing would have happened still.
Exactly right.
And I think that's really powerful.
Yeah, you have to capitalize on those opportunities because that's it. You can be handed as many fucking opportunities as you like, but if you do nothing with them, they've just gone to fucking waste, haven't they?
Yeah, exactly. No point. What do you say to people, the concept of being obsessed? Someone goes, you're obsessed, and says it in a negative tone. What's your kind of perception around that?
Well, I think it obviously depends on what we're talking about here, but I think when you look at someone who basically masters their craft, right, or reaches the top of their game in whatever that is, whatever industry we're talking about, you don't get there without being obsessed, in my opinion. So there's nothing wrong with being obsessed. I think, as you said, it gets a bit of a negative connotation, but typically that's from, and this leads us down a different path, right? People often project onto you their insecurity about themselves or their limiting self-belief about themselves. And so someone who looks at another person in exceptional shape, who, you know, is very dialed in with their nutrition, their training, and doesn't party much, all the rest of it, and they look fantastic, and it's like the person who's not doing any of that shit and feels bad about themselves because they are partying, they are eating like shit, and they're not training much, they'll call that other person obsessed and over the top and all the rest of it. It's like, you're just projecting onto me how you feel about yourself or the especially insecurities about yourself.
The same path. Like, let's say you went to the same school, similar parents, all this sort of stuff, and you went here and they went way down there, then they're going to try and pull you back in a little bit as well. And it's funny, as if anyone ever says like, you're obsessed, I'm just, thanks. Like, that's a compliment, to be honest. If someone said that to me, I'm like, cool, that means I'm visibly putting in the work. Like, that's okay. Doing
exactly
the reps.
Right. And as I said, I think it's necessary in certain circumstances in order to get to the level that you want to be at. And that also then ties into like the whole work-life balance stuff, right? Like, I think there is definitely, in a way, there's no such, in my opinion, depending on what you're striving for, there's not really a balance. It's just there's just priorities. And there's times where those priorities change, right? So whether it's, you know, that you're going through a little, and I kind of look at this in seasons, and even within my work, podcasting, spending time with my fiance now.
Don't get that wrong now.
First time I've said that. There's seasons and there's periods, right? It's like an athlete. An athlete will have an off season where, you know, things are probably a little more relaxed. They're still doing a bit of the work. Then there's pre-season where they're overdoing it, overreaching. And then there's the season where they're kind of reaping the rewards of all that work they put in. It's very much the same with life. It's like there will be periods where I am obsessed with what I'm doing at the moment, and I am overdoing it, and I am overreaching, and I am, you know, lacking in a lot of areas of my life outside of what I'm focused on. But then there'll be periods where I put more of the priority and the focus on the things that were lacking before, because now it makes sense to do so. And so I think if you're just trying to stay balanced and not obsessed about anything, you get fucking nowhere. Yeah.
It's interesting, back to way back when our earlier points of, you know, saying the ice baths, the cold showers and all these sort of things, and some I don't have time. It's funny when the concept of this, like I'm just a very honest person. I don't want to do them. Like, and I think that's, at least I'm being true to myself. If someone's like, oh, you should ice bath in the morning, I really don't want to.
Yeah.
Like first PT client at 6, I'm like, I can't be fucking getting it. I'm going to sleep as much as possible. Yeah. But I'm not bullshitting myself.
You're not bullshitting yourself.
Like, so be honest. Like, if you don't want to do something, just say it. Say it's not a priority right now. That's better than being like, no, I don't have time. Because then you start to like create these false truths.
Exactly. And the more you tell yourself that story and the more you allow that story to play out, the more it becomes a belief. And once it's a belief, then like when it comes to beliefs, like, and this goes for limiting beliefs, this goes to beliefs that, you know, work in your favor, everyone's beliefs are 100% true for them. So they may not be true, like in theory, they're actual bullshit, but for the person, they're very true.
Yep.
And so, as you said, it's everyone has enough time. Some people just don't have the right priorities. Or it's just not a priority, which is fine. As you said, it's not a, who gives a fuck if you don't want to do an ice bath or if you don't want to fucking meditate? Like, just say I don't want to do it.
Yeah.
And or it's not a priority.
Listen to why they might be good.
Yeah.
Take in both opinions and all these sort of things, and then formulate where you want to go from there as well.
Yep.
And like, because you don't want to be that person that also pushes things onto others.
Yeah, exactly right.
But the concept of, once again, your beliefs are true to you as well. I think it was Mark Boris. I'm not sure if you're familiar with him and his podcast and what he's done and everything, but he said, like, one day, like, I think it was an executive of one of the companies he's a shareholder in, just must have thought that he was a bit of a prick or he was an asshole. They hadn't really met each other much though. And it was, the concept of, well, in his eyes, the knowledge he had of Mark may have been true.
Yeah.
Because of what he'd been told and all these sort of things. So he was like, I kind of can't be mad that maybe he formulated that opinion of me.
Exactly.
And so, like, say for an example, like we're here today, we'd never actually met each other before. We're formulating an opinion of who each other are just based on Instagram or how your tone in how you're talking. Very glad that there was no voice memos because they do my head in. And like it's, all those sort of things as well. But then we get here, we start to talk and the opinion of each other that changes.
Yep.
But I still don't know you enough to ramble on and tell everyone all about you, because once again, it's an hour that we're going to be together. Like it's still true. What I believe and what you believe about me is true.
It's true for me. Yeah, exactly right. And I think a good thing to lead from that is also just understand, like, something that's helped me a lot and has helped a lot of my clients is understanding judgment and the power of judgment, and how what has really benefited me is trying to remove as much judgment as possible from outcomes and from people. Because as you said, and judgment is just an ego thing, right? It's like, I can sit here and judge you or how you go about things or the things you've said or, the type of person that you are. And firstly, as you said, it's like, well, it's crazy to do that when we barely know each other, right? But even if you suppose we do know someone, it's like, I came to this conclusion like about 6 months ago after something that had happened, and I was sitting in a meditation and I had realized that I'd subconsciously been judging someone, and I'd formed this like opinion or like I'd formed this like emotion or this anger about this certain situation. I was like, well, hang on a second. If I had experienced everything this person had experienced, if I had their limiting beliefs, if I was in their environment, if I had their exact level of consciousness and awareness, how the fuck do I know that I wouldn't be exactly the same? And I don't know. And I probably would be the same. And so I have no right to be judging them for where they're at or for how they perceive things or whatever, because it has nothing to do with me. Yeah. And so the result of that is that you one of the biggest things, you just don't take anything personally, which is a really fucking big thing, I think, because people take shit personally all the fucking time. And it's like, mate, that is just your ego talking. It's like, you can't be sitting here taking anything personally because nothing is about you. I think when you start to realize that as well, even if it's like, feels like it's directly towards you, it's not about you. Yeah. It's not like about you.
A selfish, like it's the world revolves around me sort of concept as well, isn't it? It's like if someone gets mad at you on the road, it's not a personal attack. Maybe it's because you were halfway across the fucking lane. It doesn't mean you're a shit person.
Well, they could be fucking driving to, take their missus to hospital to have a baby, or they could have just got the worst news ever, or who fucking knows? It's like, it's not up to me to judge. No. At all.
No, exactly. Now you've mentioned, we've talked about obsession, and you've mentioned yourself, like your maybe over obsession at an early stage of your fitness career when it comes to like the training and the eating side of things. Yeah. How did you think you found yourself in that position? And two, how did you work yourself out of that to become this, let's call it, healthy obsession?
Found myself in that position, one, because I, again, like probably attached my worth on an appearance thing, or like trying to fit in, or whatever it may be. And so again, it was just like, in order for me to, I thought by achieving these things, I would feel happy, because I just wasn't happy at the time. And the reason I wasn't happy is because I wasn't being authentic to myself. And I was placing all this value on things that didn't fucking matter, but that's where the value was. And so everything I was doing was to achieve these things, or to look this certain way, or to fit in with this person, or get acceptance from this person. And so that's what caused that issue, right? And yeah, it was a fucking shit show. Like, I overtrained, underate, excessively, and I think because again, like I'd taken this value on hard work as an athlete to try and reach these levels of success and to get to improve and to be validated by making teams and all this type of shit. I just carried that same kind of obsession or that same mindset into the training side of things. And to be honest, it wasn't until I started to just learn from reputable sources and started to actually look at scientific backed evidence from people who were reliable and also to start to zoom out a little bit and just put things into perspective and like look at myself a bit more objectively, and just be like, well, fuck, hang on. I've been training for like 3-4 years. I have a fucking horrible relationship with food. I'm severely underweight. I'm not getting much stronger. My body actually hasn't changed that much in terms of what I'm saying I want to do. It's like maybe something needs to change. And as I said, I started to learn more reputable stuff from reliable people, and just put it into practice and implement it. But it was a belief thing. It was a belief. You have to change the belief, which is the hard bit. And then as soon as the belief changes, then the rest of the changes are easy.
The actions just come off the back end of the belief.
Exactly. Like at the start, the nutrition one was the hardest one, and the training, I guess, as well. But the nutrition was the hardest because I'd, barely ate much, and every time I ate certain foods or ate too much, I would think that it's a bad thing. And so I had this belief that was not aligned with what I supposedly wanted. And so when I first started tracking my food intake, for example, and I figured out how many calories I actually needed, I was like, holy fuck, this is like more than double what the fuck I've been eating. Like, this can't be right. But once I started to see the results of it, that changes the belief. And so, that's such a valuable lesson for anything. It's like even within business, it's like for us, even if you're like for my online business, for example, or for you as a PT, or for myself as a PT, or whatever, it's like in order to persuade someone or to gain someone's trust in your services or your product, you have to shift their belief. And so
it starts with education though as well.
Exactly.
You can't just say, like if you said to someone like, you have to lift weights this often, then you'll build muscle. And they go, oh, why do I have to do it that often? You're like, you just have to. They'll be like, okay, well, I probably don't, because you didn't really give me a why. Like it's the education allows them to believe that it is true. And that belief then allows them to take action on what they were trying to achieve.
Yep. And that's why things like testimonials are so powerful, right? Is you've got, particularly this is kind of gone off topic, but particularly it's with like video testimonials, right? If I've got a certain client, let's say I've got you wanting to get to achieve this physical goal, and then all of a sudden you're seeing a video testimonial of someone who is very similar to you, had the same problems as you, and they're explaining what they did to get the result that you want, then all of a sudden your beliefs change. That's all it takes sometimes. And so, for me, it was one of the biggest changes and the best changes I made, because but I'm also grateful it happened, because I'm grateful I ended up in that shit position, because then it's allowed me to really relate and share my experience and story with other people who are in that position. And so that allows me to change their belief. Because it's like, hey, this was actually me. I'm same height as I am now, but nearly 25 kilos less. And I'd been training for a few years in the gym, thinking I was getting big. I think I was fucking jacked. But I wasn't, because I was doing this, and this, and that's what you're doing now. And I changed and did this, and this, and this is the result. And so now all of a sudden you change someone's belief. But it was a fucking massive shift. And I'm so glad it happened, because it wasn't nice.
Well, that's it. Resistance equals opportunity again, like you said. But like we can go as deep as you want with this, but I think that's powerful, because large majority of the audience is young males, and I can say myself as well, I had a similar sort of shit relationship with food. I was probably high school sort of age. Like there's times where you'd stare at the plate and be like, nah, I reckon I saw a little roll, or I don't have veins popping out or something today. Like, maybe I shouldn't eat that food. And like, so, people will think that's a female thing. Guys don't have problems with food. Like, I'll just eat the food, mate, or whatever. Hang on, like there's dudes out here we struggle, and like you might not see it. Like, you don't have to look like a person that struggles with those things. And I think understanding that
definitely
If you're at a cafe, you order a ham and cheese croissant. The person orders next to you a ham and cheese croissant. You just go, oh, fuck yeah, I love a ham and cheese croissant, bash it down. I don't think about it at all. That person's sitting there and they're like, kind of keep looking at it a little bit. Like, you don't know the process for them to actually get to stage to eat the food.
Yeah.
What you see is a ham and cheese croissant sitting on the table and them just sitting there kind of like staring at it like, oh, fuck. What's going on inside their head is like, oh, have I overate last night?
Yeah.
Should I have this? I'm not sure this will fit in to my calories, but I know I've got heaps to go, but it's not my normal. And they're fucking winding.
Mm-hmm.
You don't know what someone else is going through in that situation. Like it's, and so it's refreshing to share that and allow others to understand that it's okay. There's others going through that as well, but it doesn't mean you can't try and change.
I still think about that like today, like every now, not all the time, but sometimes I will like reflect on that. I will be like, fuck, I just ate, whatever. Like it doesn't bother me at all now, but I'll like look at a meal I just ate and be like, fuck, rewind back to before I had this knowledge and before I changed this belief, there's no fucking way I would have done that. Or I would have been sitting here stressed. And I used to think about like all of the, whatever it be, birthdays or holidays or whatever it was that I just could not be present or could not enjoy it or could not feel happy in any of them because I was just obsessed about something that just didn't fucking matter.
Yeah.
And it was just not worth my time or energy. But again, it's like you don't know until you're in that.
And I think as well, like that's not to say you shouldn't be thinking about the food you're consuming.
Oh, of course.
Someone's going to take that and be like, oh, okay, well then I should just eat.
No.
Like, and it's like, no, like there is an element, and that's where there's the element of like obsession, a healthy obsession maybe versus an unhealthy obsession where it literally controls your whole life and who you are.
Yeah.
In comparison to like, hey, the decisions I'm making with the food is also resulting in the impacting how I feel, how I train, how I sleep, and all these other things. Like it's not just an unhealthy like, do I need to throw up after I eat this or something?
Yeah,
like that.
exactly.
Like there is a balance in there where you can enjoy life. You don't have to drink alcohol.
Yeah.
But you can have
Yeah,
if you
exactly
want. Like
right.
we're all a bit different. It's that balance as well.
100%. Yeah. You're right. That the nutrition side of things gets taken out of context a lot. I think anytime you mention tracking macros and stuff in particular, there was a period there where when like flexible dieting got really, really popular, there was a bit too much of a shift towards like eat whatever the fuck you want as long as it fits your macros. And, scientifically does it work? Yeah, to an extent. But it's like, you don't have to be a fucking rocket scientist to figure out that by providing your body with high quality, nutrient dense fuels, you are going to feel better, perform better, look better, be more healthy, all the rest of it. But as you said, it's more so just the education around, hey, there's no such thing as a food that's going to make you fat. Or you don't have to cut out things that you love most in order to get this result. It's like, just be smart about it, make sure it fits within your intake. I always say to just treat your body like a sports car. You wouldn't buy a Ferrari and then go and fill it up with the cheapest fuel you could possibly find. And so it's very much the same with our bodies. But at the same time, it's like, it's just, I think the biggest one is, looking at like, there's no such thing as a food that's going to make you lean. There's also no such thing as a food that's going to make you fat. It's like if you consistently overconsume calories from whatever food you're eating, you will gain body fat. Yeah. If you consistently stay in a slight deficit from whatever you're eating, you'll lose body fat. And the quality of that comes down to how much quality how much attention you're putting to the quality of what you're eating. Yeah.
And that if it fits your macro sort of concept as well, is like there's other things at play in terms of like maintaining a solid diet as well. It's like, cool. Can you just have ice cream, donuts and pizza? Yes. Is that going to make it really hard to lose weight? Yes. Like just because you can doesn't mean you should. Because there's data and there's not like numbers. I always say this, it's the same in business, the numbers and there's people. Like you can't get too numbers driven because then you forget we have feelings and impulses and all these things as well. And that's like in a business, if you're running a business, P&L looks really good. Excellent. Nice. You're not delivering like customer service and thinking long-term, how do we maintain these people as well?
Exactly.
But I wanted to touch on the concept of like pressure being a privilege. And it's probably similar in the concept of like the resistance equals opportunity. It's like, but if you have pressure, you've now got an opportunity as well.
Yep. I was having this conversation with someone the other day about this. Within business in particular, I think, when you're running your own business, from the outside in, again, this is just a judgment thing again, I guess, but it's like, and a comparison thing. But when you're running your own business from the outside in, sometimes it does, and it is, there's a lot of benefits to it. There's a lot of great things about running your own business, right? But at the same time, there is a lot of very difficult things. And in my opinion, it's a fuckload harder than just going to show up for someone else. But would I change anything? Absolutely not. But when you look at, the weeks that are really fucking difficult, the weeks where, money might be tight, or the weeks when everything that could go wrong possibly goes wrong, all of these really difficult scenarios, and you're sitting there and, feeling sorry for yourself or complaining and stuff, you've got to go, well, you know what, this is a choice. Like I chose to put myself in this position, and I know this is going to be part of it. And I think with that comes the importance of the acceptance or the planning ahead of just understanding that like shit's going to go wrong. Yeah. Like it's not like when it happens, don't be sitting here just shocked and fucking feeling sorry for yourself and whatever. It's like, this is there is inevitably going to be things that are difficult, and you either have the choice to go down the path or not go down the path. And so if I choose to go down this path, I have to accept that there's going to be obstacles on that path. And I can't be sitting here, feeling sorry for myself or disappointed when these things come up. And so that's where, as you said, like having that pressure and having that stress sometimes is a privilege. Yeah. It's like, I am fucking so grateful to have all the problems that I've got right now. Like the problems, any of the problems that I have in my life now, I'm fucking stoked. Like I'm very grateful to have all of these problems. Yeah. I'm like, to the fact that I even have these problems means that I have somehow gotten to the position that I am in to have them in the first place. And so I'm so grateful for it.
Yeah. And I think on the topic of hard times as well, I think Alex Hormozy says, like, if you can feel shit for no reason, you can feel good for no reason too. Yeah. And it's kind of the concept of like, maybe it is hard. Okay. Feeling and getting down about yourself isn't going to solve the problem. Yep. So in that situation, if you can make yourself feel shit and be sad for no reason, then let's make ourselves feel good for absolutely no fucking reason, because you could have so much coming against you. But the only the option is what you choose to do and how you feel in that situation. It's like, so let's try and, maybe we're not going to be ecstatic about it, but let's at least take it on and change our mindset and shift that and approach hard times like an opportunity as well.
Yeah. And, like I said at the start, it's what you focus on is what you experience more of. And that goes for anything. So it's like, as you said, am I happy about this this situation? Maybe not. But if I focus on how unhappy I am about it, or continue to come up with other reasons why I should be unhappy, I'll find them. Yeah, exactly. There was a video that I watched the other day of Tony Robbins and one of my favorite comedians, Theo Von.
Crack up guy.
He's the best. And so Tony was like, they were in this room and he's like, all right, I want you to look for everything that you can that's red or brown, whatever. Say red. So he's like looking around, finding all these things red, and he's like, all right, close your eyes. And he's like, how many things did you see that were brown? He was like, fuck. None. And he's like, it's because you were looking for red. And so the whole point of that was like, what you look for, you will find. So if you're looking for negative things, you will find them. Yeah. Just the same as if you're looking for positive things, you will also find those.
Once again, concept simple, not necessarily easy.
Yeah.
What's some advice you would give to young, new, aspiring personal trainers just getting into the industry?
Oh man, there's a lot, right? I think the first one is that your focus should always be on being a fucking good coach and trainer first. I think particularly with social media being one of the greatest tools and one of the biggest reasons why I am in the position I'm in now. At the same time, I think people become really good fucking marketers and shit coaches. Yep. And so I think the focus should always initially start and maintain to be on being the best coach possible. And to do that, you need to have an open and growth mindset and continually be willing to learn and to change your mind about certain things too. I think once you get to that closed mindset, think that, the way that you do things is the only way or the best way, you get yourself into a bit of trouble. I think, you need to be willing early on in particular to get paid less than what you think you're worth in order to learn certain things. And potentially even do certain things for free initially. I think there's also a fine line in making sure you actually value yourself for what you're worth. And so I think there's certain scenarios where working for free or working for less than what you think you're worth is definitely worth it if that means you are putting yourself in a position where you are growing substantially. in that thing, right? It's not, I don't mean like, go and train fucking anyone that says they know you because they're friends with your cousin or whatever for free or for half price. I think that's stupid. And I made those mistakes early on. I think the next thing is that just document your journey. Obviously, these days, if you're not doing content, basically a lot of it, you're really going to kind of struggle. So you don't necessarily have to like what's popular or like what works, but you have to fucking do what works. I think there's a lot of value in investing in yourself in regards to mentors and coaches. And so it's very easy to look at, let's say the price of a mentor or a coach. And obviously if you're in a financial position to do so, but if it's going to save you time, money from the mistakes and the lessons that this person's learned, then it's well worth it.
I guess then touching on that, like the education of things like nutrition and training principles and all that, because then 100%. You're expanding the results you're able to get with your clients, which is going to grow your business and inevitably make more money.
Yeah, without a doubt. And so, these are all really fucking important lessons, and there's plenty more we could add, but that's those are a great place to start.
Yeah, it's interesting because I find like personal training for me, I've seen it as just I think it's a really important and powerful job that I think I wish more people went into, even if like they maybe don't see PT being their long-term sort of task. I'm like, as someone that's sitting here now having this conversation at 18, no, I couldn't even talk. I hated talking to people so much.
Yeah.
And now here I'm going into different states. And so I've improved my communication skills. So I can talk to randoms, sales skills, the networking, the side effect that comes with it. Like look at the people you've been able to work with and train. Once again, that's putting yourself in the gyms and the positions to find these people. But like there's just a huge amount of things on a personal level that PT is going to help you achieve and grow and take those skills moving forward as well. Yeah,
without a doubt. One of the things I didn't mention, like I was just trying to think of as many things as I could, but you just touched on it then, like networking and relationship building is you have to be able to adapt very fucking quickly, but you also have to be fantastic at building relationships and building rapport and networking and, putting yourself in a position, like we said before, putting yourself in a position to be lucky and to get these opportunities. And as you said, I think coming into it, if you are starting out as a personal trainer, if you're coming into it thinking that you're going to make a fuckload of cash, do fuck all and just, have an easy, cruisy job, you're in for a rude surprise. It takes time. You have to be patient. But if you come into it with the right reasons and particularly understanding that you have an incredible opportunity to impact people's lives in ways that you would never fucking imagine, you'll do exceptionally well.
It's like any business, isn't it? Serve first,
yes,
take later. And the serving and the increase in you doing more of that just increases everything else that you were looking for initially in the first place. Anyway.
Exactly right.
It's perfect. All right. I reckon you got places to be, so we'll wrap things up there. Thanks for jumping on, Danny.
Thank you for having me on, man. I really appreciate it.
No, it's been awesome. Anyone that's looking to work with Danny, I'll leave some stuff in the description below and you can find him there. Thank you.
Appreciate having me on, man.
Thank you.